Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Just one short item, then on to today's subject. This short item is for all you nature lovers out there. I'm shooting this on the second floor of my gorgeous, well, okay, maybe not gorgeous, but it's nice, my condo in Tennessee. I'm on the second floor. I can look down into my backyard where I get squirrels and birds. So I like the squirrels, I like the birds. Actually, the neighbors' cats like to hang out in my yard too. So I put these little cat treats, cat food, I don't know, this dry stuff. I put it out there for them in a little dish. And then I have a bird feeder and I have a squirrel feeder. I have two squirrel feeders on two different trees, and one of them, there's this, he's still there. I just looked. Now you can see this video of the squirrel. He's been there I don't know how long, just eating and eating and eating. That squirrel can really eat a lot. I see him a lot. I don't know why I keep saying him. I don't know. Could be a she. I'll just say it, the squirrel. That squirrel, I see it all the time because, as you can tell, its tail is a little, it's not as bushy as your usual squirrel. I wonder if it's the same squirrel that was here this morning. I put food into the feeder, and then every day, well, I refill that feeder maybe once a week, sometimes twice a week, but every day I put a half dozen hazelnuts in each of the two feeders, and they're gone within just a few hours. The squirrels come and they'll grab a nut and then they just run away with it. They don't stay there and eat it. They run away with it somewhere. It's amazing how fast these squirrels can just scamper through little branches no bigger than my finger, and they just run across them, and they'll jump from one tree with a little tiny branch to another tree. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. But this squirrel, still there, still eating. It's just amazing. So if you are a nature lover, this one is for you. Now on to today's subject. This is not so happy. This is in keeping with my general motto, which is that liberalism destroys everything. Anything it touches, liberalism destroys, takes all the pleasure out of it, makes it so that none of us can enjoy it. Today we're talking about children's show. Children's shows used to be, well, when I was a kid, or even before, I mean, that's going way, way back, but the kid, well, in my day, we read books too. It's too bad we have these computers and kids can just sit on computers. It's not good for them, or to watch too much TV. But when they were watching TV, it would be this was even before Sesame Street. It would be just harmless cartoons. You could put your kid in front of if you're a housewife, put your kid in, and mother of course, put your kid in front of the TV, do the dishes, do some dusting, whatever you do, and not worry about your kid, that your kid's going to be indoctrinated in liberalism. Well, that has changed, and this is worse than I thought. I didn't think it could get this bad. Well, I'm just going to give you the headline. I could hardly believe it when I read it, but well, here we go. Here's the headline. Quote, Blue's Clues, unquote, reboot pushes transgenderism on preschoolers. I'm going to read that again. Quote, Blue's Clues, unquote, reboot. I guess that was a TV show that was on the air for a while, a kid's show, and then it was off the air. Now it's back, or it's always been on the air, and they're changing it, obviously, and for the worse. Back to the headline. Quote, Blue's Clues, unquote, reboot pushes transgenderism on preschoolers. Blue's Clues, a show for kids between 3 and 5 years old, has endorsed LGBT, that's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, in case you don't know what LGBT stands for. LGBT, quote, pride, unquote, complete with flags for various sexual identities, including pansexuality, bisexuality, and transgender identity. While sexuality barely has any meaning for children this young, Nickelodeon, that's the station, Nickelodeon, has already pushed to normalize LGBT activism for preschoolers. Nickelodeon rebooted the classic Nick Jr. series Blue's Clues in 2019, and last month the show's, quote, ABC song, unquote, ABC I guess would be going through the alphabet in music to teach kids the alphabet, featured a rainbow-colored, quote, P, unquote, for, quote, pride, unquote, and 8 separate LGBT flags. The flags represent pansexual, lesbian, bisexual, asexual, gender fluid, transgender, non-binary, and intersex identity. It seems the reboot show Blue's Clues and You did not explain these flags or the sexual identities they represent, but the evocative word, quote, pride, unquote, and the mysterious flags will likely lead children to ask their parents questions, and older children may turn to the internet for answers. Even older children, ages 5 to 8, who attended a, quote, transition party, unquote, for a boy who identified as a girl at Rockland Academy in California, came home, quote, traumatized, unquote. And I linked to the article that I'm quoting right now. If you go to that article in the description, you'll find a further link, a link embedded in that article taking you to this transition party. Personally, I did not click the link, but if you are that curious, and if you have young children, you may be that curious. Jonathan Keller of the California Family Council told Life News that the transgender, quote, lesson, unquote, scared the kids. Quote, there were several of the little girls that went to their parents and were crying and saying, quote, mommy or daddy, am I going to turn into a boy, unquote, he recounted. One of the little boys, who apparently hadn't given, quote, gender, unquote, a thought before the event, started asking his mother if he can dress as a girl for school. While Nickelodeon likely intended to be, quote, inclusive, unquote, and that's their key code word, liberals, anything they want to enact, anything race-based, sex-based, their total remaking of the culture, it's always tied to this term inclusive. But I digress. Back to the article. While Nickelodeon likely intended to be, quote, inclusive, unquote, with this graphic, this outright celebration of LGBT activism and identity is divisive. Traditional families of all religious backgrounds, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, and more, will react to this subtle LGBT activism with horror and disgust. What producer thought it was a good idea to advocate for LGBT identities in a show geared towards 3-year-old children? Well, the answer to that is simple. A liberal producer, a liberal obviously produced this. If you are the parent of a toddler, a 3-year-old kid, you cannot just leave your kid in front of the TV anymore. You cannot even watch, well, you better watch with your kid, but you're going to see something like this possibly come on the screen, and then you're going to have to jump up, turn off the TV, change the channel, and what's the kid going to do? The kid's probably going to freak out to have the channel suddenly changed, but if you leave it on, I guess the only solution is not to let your kid watch that TV. And actually, a little aside here, I will say this as a compliment to Madonna. She said, the singer Madonna, she said that her young children, when they were young, she would not let them, she didn't even have a TV in the house, would not let them watch TV. That may be what it comes to. You're just going to have to not let your kids watch TV, because liberals have ruined it for you. They've ruined TV for you. They already ruined the Academy Awards, the Golden Globe Awards, the Emmys, all these award shows where the people giving out the awards and the singers, actresses, I hesitate to call them artists, having seen some of what they've produced, especially the rap artists, unquote. But you can't watch those shows anymore. They are so, to use that common term, woke and politically correct, that you can't watch them anymore, and their declining ratings are showing it. You can't watch football anymore unless, well, maybe turn it on late if you don't want to see the players kneeling for the national anthem. You can't watch, listen to, or read anything. You just can't. It's just getting worse and worse, and it's going to get worse and worse until conservatives, that so-called silent majority that Nixon talked about, former President Richard Nixon, years and years ago talked about, but it's even worse now. And the only real solution actually is what one of my favorite bloggers, Glenn Reynolds, he has a website called Instapundit. It's INSTAPUNDIT.com. It's one of my favorite websites. I've mentioned it in the past, but he said the only real solution to this is, well, because liberals have ruined women's magazines also, and Teen Vogue is horribly woke and politically correct, and this is for teenage girls. But he said that conservatives have to start buying media outlets. They should buy women's magazines. We need conservative YouTube. All these major platforms are owned by liberals. There's Parler, there are other sites, there are alternatives, but they don't get the same audience. And it's just, I guess I'll just leave it there for today. I'll just say again that if you have young children, that you better take a good look at what they're watching on TV if you let them watch TV. In fact, what I would do is I remember visiting my brother when his little 3-year-old niece, and she was watching The Little Mermaid on tape. That's probably what you're going to have to do. Just get cartoons and things on discs and tapes and watch them yourself first. And when I say watch them, I mean watch them all the way through, and then let your kids look at those. Because kids are very easy, young kids, toddlers are very easy captivated. My niece that I just mentioned, when she was 3 years old, she just watched The Little Mermaid over and over and over and over again. So I guess I've given you all the advice I can, except to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like it, and especially any people you know who have young children. You could also put any comments you might have in the comment section below the video. Questions, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You can visit my music channel. You can visit my food channel. There are links in the description. As always, I really appreciate the time that you spend with me. I'm glad that you stopped by. I would love to see all of you again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.